Hey guys, and welcome back to my world. So on the right hand side you'll see that I have a countdown timer. This is the next lightning storm that's going to happen. So what I've got set up here is a bunch of capacitors or batteries that will try and capture the lightning and actually store it in, okay, hold on, let me just quickly kill it. That'll store it in to be translated into power. Now first off, oh there we go, you'll see the lightning has started. Now the lightning is completely random in this area, but when it actually hits one of these capacitors, it'll actually fill it up with lightning. So you'll see on the side here, I've got a object running called capacitors. So when there's when it's filled up, or not filled up, when there's an item in it, it will. Oh, there we go. We've got capacitor 8. So we've got power of 8 capacitors. So one of them has been struck by lightning. Here we go. Right, so there we go. There you can see there is, this is outputting a power of 8. Okay, so once the lightning storm actually stops, that power of 8 will be transferred to power. Okay, so let's just see. So as you can guess, what's happening is I am summoning a silverfish called Lightning, and then I'm spread layering that silverfish all over this area. And once when a silverfish is actually spawned on top of a iron bar like this, it's going to test that it's on top of an iron bar. It'll then test to see if it's actually on top of a iron block, and then it will summon a charged invisible creeper, creating that lightning effect that you see over there. So it's actually not, oh, there we go, 12. So somewhere else one has been struck by lightning. Let's just have a look. It's not there. Oh, well, 12. There we go. So we've got some lightning stored up here, and I think there we go. There's another one over there. 12. Oh, and there we go. The lightning has stopped. Now you'll see that the capacitors has transferred the power to, or has transferred their power to the power. Now, what the power will be used for in this map is that you'll be able to use the power to charge certain machinery, and these things you'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see. But it's important that you kind of come to the fields every now and again and charge your power. Okay, now the way this works is that the silverfish will detect the iron bar, it'll detect the iron block, and it'll then summon the creeper. What this creeper then does, it'll constantly run a test for blocks to see if this structure is exactly the same structure as what a battery / capacitor should be. If it's not, the creeper will actually explode. Okay, so if any one of these blocks is removed or is slightly different, so let's just remove that one, you'll see that it will just give you a ginormous explosion. Okay, so if you don't really build this correctly and you're missing a piece and the lightning strikes this, it will actually explode. Also, if it gets too full, and you'll see that this is actually as glass panes. So if this actually gets too full, the creepers will push each other out of the way. Okay, which then, when they then test it, they will then explode, breaking it. So it can be actually overcharged and be destroyed as well. Okay, so this is actually a pretty cool mechanic. Okay, so let's have a look at the command blocks for this. Now, be warned, this is a long command. Also, I've already integrated this command into the main mechanics of the map. So I'm going to be referencing scoreboard objectives, which you won't need if you have it in place. So yeah, just be wary of that. Okay, so first off, I am running a full clock, so it's a nice little fast clock. First off, I'm going to be summoning a silverfish at the player. So when this lightning under here, the scoreboard objective for lightning over here, is actually my trigger point. It can be anything you want it to be. Okay, it can be anything you want it to be. So what I'm doing is I'm summoning a silverfish. A player is summoning the silverfish at a very specific coordinates. Now, the reason I've got the coordinates is it's at the top of that big tower that the lightning was striking before. It summons the silverfish right on the top of that tower. Okay, now the silverfish is a silent silverfish. You'll see I've got the silent :1 tag on it, which means it's not going to be making any noise. I then have a custom name called lightning, so it is named lightning, and I'll be referencing lightning going forward. It's got an invisibility on it. Okay, and it's got an ambient one, which means it won't show the little particles. Okay, so the first thing is the player when summons the silverfish. Okay, once the player has summoned the silverfish, I then add a timer to all entities called lightning. Okay, so it's going to count up per tick timer for every entity called lightning. Okay, so that just allows me to control when certain actions need to happen to that particular entity. Okay, then thirdly, I am then going to spread player that silverfish. So I'm going to spread player it at those coordinates. So this is the X and Z coordinates. There's no Y coordinates in spread playing. I'm going to spread them no more than 5 blocks apart, or no less than 5 blocks apart in a 50 block radius. And I'm not going to be concerning myself with the actual team if they're in a team. Okay, and I'm going to be spread playering an entity called lightning that has a score timer of 1. Now that should actually be 2. Okay, a score timer of 2. Okay, so the player summons the silverfish, and the silverfish then gets a timer added to it. When the timer reaches 2, it then spread players it around that big area that I had it. Okay, now the next thing that happens is that silverfish, okay, that silverfish lightning is going to run a detect command. So the moment it'll run a detect command. So execute at entity lightning detect. So it's going to look for 1 block underneath it. It's going to look for iron bars. Okay, if it finds iron bars, it's going to run a second execute at that entity r equals 0. Now it's important that you've got r is equals 0 in there. It's just so that it targets a specific entity, not all entities. I'm going to run a second detect. So it detects the iron bars. I'm then going to run another detect 2 blocks down. So that directly underneath the iron bars, I'm looking for iron block. If I find an iron block, I am then going to summon a creeper. Okay. And I'm going to summon that creeper 3 blocks below it. And that creeper is going to be invisible. It's going to have a custom name called battery. It's going to be a powered creeper, so it's going to have that little zzz, the little lightning effect on it. Okay. I've set the explosion radius to 1. I should maybe put that actually to bigger. It's got a fuse of 100, but it doesn't actually need a fuse. I can actually set this fuse to 0. I mean, that was just a test. It has a custom named visible no, so you can't see the name even though it's invisible. It's going to be silent, so it's not going to make any creeper noises. It's going to have an active effect of 14, which is invisibility. It's going to be ambient 1, but I'm going to go even further. I'm going to also add attributes. Now I'm going to add a name generic movement speed base 0.001, so it's not going to move at all. Okay, and I'm then going to put the follow range to exactly the same, to 0.01, so it's not going to be able to detect anybody at all. Okay, so let's quickly recap. The silverfish lands on the iron bars. It detects the iron bars. It then tests to see if there's an iron block underneath it. If there is an iron block, it'll then summon the creeper right in this little space over here. Okay, now this all happens within 1 tick. Okay, so where were we? Scoreboard, set stats. Okay. Right, the next thing we're going to do, now that we have that creeper, we now need to figure out how are we going to detect if that is actually a valid container for our little lightning. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually use the stat command. So we're going to execute at lightning. So we're going to execute at that silverfish. We're going to run a nested execute. We're going to test if there is a battery, which is the creeper within a 6 block radius. and then we're going to run the stats command on that battery. Now the reason we're using the Silverfish is so that we don't actually run this command on every single battery, every single tick. Okay, we only want to run it when that Silverfish detects it. So it's only going to run once per tick until the Silverfish dies. Okay, so we're going to run the stats command. Now what the stats command does, it's going to allow us to test if that entity battery is successfully running a command or not. Okay, so we're going to add stats to an entity. The entity that we're going to be adding it is @ename equals battery. Okay, we are going to set the success count for it, and we're going to add that success count to the scoreboard objective boom of entity r equals 0. Okay, so we now going to set that creeper to have a if it successfully runs a command, to add a 1 if it's successful and a 0 if it's not successful to the boom score for it. Okay. Now that we've got the creeper set up with stats, we then need to actually make sure that that creeper actually has the a scoreboard objectives created against its name in the scoreboard of that file. Okay, so we're going to once again execute at the entity called lightning. We're going to once again do a nested execute. We're going to get the entity named battery to actually run a scoreboard command that will set players name equals battery boom 1. Okay, so it's going to set the boom objective score for that creeper to 1. Now, it's very, very important that it's set to 1. Okay, because if you remember the stats over here, we said that the success count is the boom objective. So if it tests successfully, the boom score will be 1. If it tests negative, it will be 0. And this is why we set it to 1. So we start off with it being successful. Okay. Then we are going to run another timer on that battery. Now, once again, I had issues where the whole thing exploded within 1 tick because I needed a slight delay for everything, for the creeper to reach the bottom and to reach the optimum spot to test for that container. Okay, so I'm going to add a timer to the battery. Now, to the battery. Then what we're going to do is we're going to be executing at all batteries in the world. Okay, so we're going to run a test for blocks that tests if those of the blocks that surrounds them is exactly the same to this blocks over here. If it's not, if even one little block is different, so if, for example, you would have seen I removed that block over there, the fence over there, and it made it explode. So it needs to be exactly the same as that. If it's not the same, it will then give a negative score. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So next, that's it. So it tests to see if that cage around it is 100% correct. If it is, it'll give it a score of 1. Okay, which is fine. If it doesn't, if it's not an exact match, it's going to give it a boom score of 0. And this is where the next command comes in. So we're going to execute at that battery, but this time we're going to check to see if that battery has a timer of 10. So we give it about 10 ticks for it to settle down. Okay, we're going to see if the boom score is 0, no more than 0 and no less than 0. Okay, it's then going to summon primed TNT. Okay, so test that cage, and then if it's not the same, it explodes. Now, remember when I said when you have too many creepers, sometimes they bump each other because they've got that micro movement. And then one of the creepers will shift slightly out of the block, and then it will no longer test true, which causes it to explode. So you can overcharge them by having too many creepers. Okay, prime TNT. Right, then only do we summon the lightning bolt. Okay, so we're going to summon the lightning bolt at timer. I'm just going to actually do one. We can then summon the lightning bolt. We can summon the lightning bolt at that lightning, the silverfish that's called lightning. Okay. What I'm also doing is I'm actually filling on a 10 block radius. I'm actually filling, replacing fire with air. So it just kind of kills the fire, because every time this lightning strike strikes, it actually leaves a fire behind, and I just want to remove that. And then last but not least, I then teleport the lightning with a score timer minimum 5. So you'll see I leave that Silverfish there for about 5 ticks, okay, so that I can have multiple lightning strikes. And then I teleport it to -200, which just teleports it directly into the void and kills it. Okay, and that is that mechanic. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on here as well, which, as I said, I'm not going to explain because it's got to do with more core mechanics, game mechanics, than just this particular bottled lightning. This map will not be up for download at this stage. When it's finished, I will download the whole map, and you can actually follow these videos and come to the spot and check out the redstone for it, because there's a lot of stuff happening on this map. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will check you all later.